Friday.
We gather.
And so I'm together. How are you guys doing? We're just in from actually having tea with a a flat earther friend. That was interesting, and she'd heard about Alex Michael's party, so we're going to get her on the guest list. If anyone else wants to come along in September, let me know. So the world keeps turning, and we're just continuing to put one foot in front of the other, enjoy the days where we can. We have felt the energy has been extremely heavy of late.
Well, I mean, before this new moon, which was last night, obviously you're in that dark bit of the moon, and so that's normally quite, it's like a very deep, but of course you've got Mercury retrograde, and Pluto's was in opposition to this new moon, as well as Saturn and Neptune, a whole lot of other aspects. But I know that Sunday, Monday, Wednesday, the Mars was hanging out by the South Node in Virgo, and that was really like pushing us to sort of see, release, be with South Node stuff, which is normally karmic stuff, past lives, that kind of stuff. So it felt very heavy.
Yeah.
For our good, obviously.
Yeah.
But I wonder how everybody else has felt. I know there's no one in the chat.
There is.
Oh,
but
there is.
It's not coming
showing
up on
there.
there. But
who have we got?
you might have to read it.
Okay, so we've got Hippie Shake. Hi, Hippie. We got Boy. Hi,
Boy.
Dave and Alexandra. It's Andrea, but we have got an Alexandra, so that's Alexander. Sven.
Hello, mate.
Liz.
Iron Maiden from Scotland.
Yeah, she says yes, intense.
Yes.
Things have been breaking down, and so that's it for now.
I appreciate your support last week,
I really
Liz.
really
Thanks
appreciate
for
it.
that. And your comment. I think that was
the comment
feedback
was really valuable for me, to have that affirmation that what I share is helping
beneficial.
Someone or some. It's when we're in this kind of situation, you're not really sure how that is landing for people. So it's really nice to have that validation that it was worthwhile for you personally. But yes, the energy has been intense, and we've just had a Leo new moon yesterday, and the sort of guidance from, I follow a sort of a selection of a few astrologers, is really trying to focus on what with this Leo energy, which is the courageous heart, is like, what is my heart desire, and what do I want to create in my life, but from your heart rather than from the mind. The mind will be also put all those roadblocks in place, and if there are, can you notice how that's happening for you? But really try and sort of allow the what's old to die. And so it's, again, like I think I spoke last night, it's about the swing between the death and the rebirth, or the old and the new, and that holding that tension. It can feel like quite a lot. I certainly, in the last few days, have felt it. I really felt it, and I have Mercury, Venus, and the Moon, and my midheaven in Leo, and in fact, the new moon and the sun was on my Mercury. So, and that's directly in opposition to Pluto, who wants, to see where our power is being lost. So, it's showing us, it's revealing to us what's hidden. So yeah, it's felt heavy, but at the same time, there is that sense of the possibility.
For me, like more, okay, it's almost like you're in a bubble of stillness, or in a bubble of like, I need to just be, inward, and not push out, not be like it needs to be something else. Just be comfortable with that, because there is a flowering that comes after a quietness. And yesterday, we got the opportunity to walk up the Glastonbury Tour, which was an awesome experience. We haven't done it for a little while.
Well, very on point too, because obviously Leo is the heart, and we went. Glastonbury is the heart chakra, so it was quite on. It was quite on point.
Yeah, and we didn't have any expectations. I did think about taking my banner up there, but I'm glad I didn't. It's often quite windy, and I wouldn't have anywhere to tie it down. And yeah, it's a different energy up there as well, and so not really wanting to bring people into a different energy field, because you know how it does that for people. But this guy there was some chanting going on inside there's that tower on the tour. And
often people come at certain times of day and do chanting or meditate
I might actually try and pick up a picture of the tour just for
those that don't know it.
Those that don't know. Let's see if I minimize some of this. I guess I'm going to need to open Brave. Bear with me a moment. I'll tell you this very cool story about what happened. So we've got... Why am I opening that?
It is Brave. Just open a new thing. It's on my...
Okay, Glastonbury. I'll give it to you in a second. So... Here we go. There's the Glastonbury Tour. I think you can see that. Yeah. And I don't know if I can make it bigger right now. Loading me tour panorama, I didn't want all of that. But anyway, oh my gosh, we're getting this whole... No, I didn't need that. And that's heights above sea level, right? 1 sea level.
It might still load it. There you go.
That's the tour, and inside there, we have had some phenomenal experiences over the last few years. One of the best ones being during first year lockdowns. September was the summer solstice.
It was summer solstice, so June. 21st of June.
Oh, right, yeah, okay, of 2020. They were trying really hard to stop people from gathering and so on, and that place there was rammed full of people, and the drumming was insane, and Zizi was dancing. He was sitting on my shoulders dancing. He was little. And his hair was just going wild, and he was just having the best time. There was another story that night. I think that same night, this lady decided that she would incinerate her severed breast. She'd had it removed for a cancer kind of story, and she'd been hanging on to it for a few years, and she thought, oh, this is the night, this is the moment.
We weren't obviously involved in that. That was separate to what we were involved in. I think you had been around the fire with her.
No, I was at the fire with her.
We weren't.
Yeah, no, you weren't part of that, no. That was later on that night. I think he was already asleep. We had the camper van parked right at the bottom there. And so yesterday we got there, and there's some chanting going on, and Zizi notices it. And then a little while later it sort of eased off, and this guy was playing one of those like metal hand drums, like the tongue, but it's not the one with the tongue, because the tongue you use the sticks. This is the one where you're tapping it away like that. And actually, you've got a video of it, haven't you? Mm-hmm. So Zizi asked to go and sit inside, and because there's 2 benches, concrete benches on either wall as you go in there on the left and the right hand side, and so he wants to sit there and listen, and within a minute or two he's kind of quicker. He's like humming. And then he starts kind of chanting his own. He's got his own little song that he's kind of, not lyrics, just humming. Sounds that he's making in line with that. And the acoustics are great in that little box. And this lady with the drummer, sitting next to the drummer, she's just beaming at Zizi. Like, she's just loving that this little boy has come in there, and he's just, without any kind of inhibition. He's just laying it down. And then, I kind of joining in, and we're humming together, the two of us, and then we start clapping, and then other people join in the clapping. And after a time, the lady opposite, who's sitting next to the drummer, but she starts to sing as well. And it goes on for a few more minutes like this, and it's really a nice feeling. There's people kind of, they're looking in and taking pictures and whatnot. So I noticed some people filming Zizi, and I'm thinking, it must be quite a scene for them. I'm used to him kind of humming along to the music, but this is pretty cool for them. And when it finishes, Zizi immediately jumps off the bench and he starts giving them a round of applause. And the two of them, the drummer and the lady, they go like, no, clapping to you, because that was amazing. What you just did now was really, really amazing. And I said, oh, thanks, you're welcome. And then she says to him, up until this point, she's a lady of about 40 years old, I suppose. Up until this point, I have never sung in public before. It's the first time I've ever vocalized in a public setting, and it was because of, being inspired by this little boy, freely chanting as he was. That was a really special moment. I did get to speak to one or two guys down in Glastonbury Town about their divinity, but that was probably the highlight of the day, for sure. And that was a special moment. But yeah, so just kind of continuing on, doing what we need to do in order to... We're hoping to be down on Tuesday, Sven, if you're still there.
Yeah, we thought we'd come along and...
support the guys.
Yeah. But just to go back, because where you were leading from is how the energy's been feeling for you. And, it's almost like there is this opportunity to see things that are not in alignment in terms of your most expansive self, because that's also Leo, because we've just moved into Leo season. But anyway, as being a spiritual being, we are expansive anyway, and so there is all this wonderful energy available to us. It can feel incredibly uncomfortable because it means having to face stuff that we've perhaps been not wanting to face,
avoiding things.
Yeah, our whole lives. I don't think that we're going to get. It just gets louder and louder. Really, the more you resist, it will persist. So, it's offering it by the bucket loads. And the more that we are willing to lean into that, the more that we'll allow the more space for the expansion. I was speaking to someone today to say that if we have been these limited, subjugated, oppressed beings of light, and now we're releasing some of that, or alchemizing some of that, or reclaiming parts of ourselves that have been fractured.
Remembering.
Then the capacity to hold that light or to hold that energy is going to feel like a lot sometimes. And even feeling all the big emotions that perhaps we haven't felt, anger, sadness, grief, joy, feeling joy is a lot if you feel it, in its purest form. And so sometimes that's a lot. So we might go into contraction again. And that's okay. Because the next time we expand, and you'll have so much you'll soon have so much awareness over that. And so it's just noticing, because we were in particular, we're talking about the feeling of collapse or what feels like depression. It can be that, whatever's present feels like too much in your body, mind, your nervous system is trying to protect you. I suppose the trick or the way forward is to notice it and with compassion and be gentle and don't push it, but at the same time, don't stay there.
Because we were minded in this conversation today of something that I have felt myself, or can feel at times myself, and that is that this can be a very lonely road. The world is nothing like we were schooled. And that's a really lonely or isolating knowledge position to hold. And you know, the irony of it is that the world in general thinks that these are crazy thoughts and there must be something amiss with you, rather than, wow, you know, you have intuited, you have had the discernment to factor, you know, that so much of this is a sham.
Well, I think actually taking the next step and the next step in terms of healing and alchemizing and standing in your truth and coming back to your heart, and then yes, holding all of this this unlearning and learning and letting go and rebirthing is a lot. It's a lot. So it's like giving ourselves some grace and also compassion and at the same time celebration, or you know, a little pat in the back, like, wow, I'm courageously facing these really difficult things sometimes, and then also when it's messy, or you feel a lot, or you need to zone out, just again giving yourself compassion and that it's okay. You know, we're perfectly imperfectly doing this, and it's messy. It's not supposed to be all neat and tidy in a box. But what we will notice, and this is what we spoke about earlier, was that the mind will also want to fix it, change it, get away from it, figure it out, because that's what it's done all this time. And of course, the more you lean into it, it's a form of surrender. It's a form of saying, no, I'm going to be present with it. You know, it's a little bit like, well, it is a lot like the outside world. You know, the more that people awaken, the louder this world will get, because if you see the world as the ego and you as the spiritual being, then the ego will just get louder and louder and try to be more controlling, and to stay in control it has to be, you know, do more and try more and louder, and so that's sort of what is happening within you. Is the more that you're willing to be with, the more you're willing to surrender to whatever is wanting to come be present with. And sometimes they're incredibly uncomfortable, but the more you lean into it, the more you align with it, the more the mind will try and keep you in it. And so yes, they will. And I suspect people are starting to have so much awareness over that, even though not always. It can be completely blindly running there. And we were saying this earlier. You know, it's really hard to. It's hard, but also it's what is needed to take responsibility. And I don't mean like that. Oh, you're bad. You need to be responsible for this. More like, for us to be sovereign beings, we have to. We can call it master, but we have to take ownership over who we've been, who we're being, and the choices we make. And that can be sometimes difficult, because, you know, we want someone else to blame for.
Well, it's almost like we need someone else to blame. And it's so easy to do, right? I mean, you know, in the macro stories, it's so easy to blame the whites for the blacks, the Jews for the this, or the Catholics for the
Labour
that.
government.
Yeah, you know.
Or the Conservatives.
But we know that in the main, you know, people are just following the script that was laid down by their socio-economic situation, and, you know, in their local environment. So, you know, all of this is like, all of this is your ego. It's all kind of impregnated, and actually even like because it's happening in many countries, where border control, limitation on people coming in, people are a threat. We need to stop these people because, you know, there are some good examples of bad people, you know, coming in or already being in or whatever. But we are, you know, these things are being weaponized so that we entrap and we cut ourselves off from, and we become less connected to, more willing even to thieve from another. I mean, some of the corruption in the world is, anyway, it's a long-winded thing.
Do you want me to call out some new people? Dean's there. Yeah. We want to send our love to Dean. He's actually still in the hospital. I
really?
thought maybe he would be home.
Wow.
But I'm assuming it is because Sarah sent me a message.
Wow. We've got a guy listening in from
well, Sarah
the hospital
as well. I think
situation.
Sarah and Dean are both listening from the hospital.
Hopefully on microphone, and you can tell all of those people in there that water always seeks and finds its level. So
they, Dean had to go and have his really broken up foot, had to be put back together. We mentioned it last week, his big bike fell on his foot. So we hope we're sending you lots of healing vibes. Yeah. And I mean, I think he was a good rider, you know, he was always a good rider, you know, he's good with the bike, but it just fell on his foot. I mean, these things happen. Sorry, that was me trying to be Trump. That's not very good Trump, is it? I thought you were trying to be like some Italian mafia. Well, that's what Trump is. He's like a mob boss, right? That's what he is. Actually, today we saw a little clip where, I don't know where he was. He was talking about some sort of development, and he did sound like one then, didn't he? Yeah. And what's this fascination with this creep Epstein anyway? I mean, you did hang out with him a lot, so. Anyways, Dino, get well, and hi, Gypsy. You're both in the system right now. Just JP. NH Guy. Yeah, hi, NH Guy, and I see you. Memorial Gardens. Hi, Nathan and Penny. And Sven P. still here. Hello, Sven P. still here. As I said, we're going to come down to Bournemouth next week, I think. So look forward to that. Hopefully you've got a crafty one lined up for the old crew there. Anne Gaynor. Hi, Anne. So this is where the cool people are. I don't have my glasses with me right now, so I'm having a strain to read them. Hi, hey, Bon. Nice to have you again. And still Liz the Iron Maiden. And if a thumbs up happens to come your way, or some kind of hearting thing happens, then just feel free to heart the show, you know, and give us some support. We are happy to be here. We will be in a new location next week, so we're on the move again. But that presages my promised my triple header, 3 Sundays in August. Triple header, and I'm assuming not 8 or 9 hour days, or is that still? Let's keep an open mind about how long the days will be. But I'm in Speaker's Corner on the first Sunday, second and third Sunday of August. Weather permitting, I wouldn't bother if it was raining, to be honest. It's not really worth it. I mean, if you're in London, then it would be awesome. I was thinking of sending Mark Sargent a note saying, would you put out that there's like a hangout in Speaker's Corner on these Sundays. I've done that before. It's never really been I don't think so. One guy did come and see me, I remember now in my mind. One guy did come and say, I saw it there.
And then when we did the South African mini festival, 2022, a guy did come that had heard Mark Sargent say it. He'd come down from Johannesburg. So it's interesting, can kind of spark somebody. But, I have these like ideas of 10 people. I mean, back in 2018, there were 40 people there the first time. But it's a bit like Stand in the Park, really.
There was, but there wasn't the same number after that, right? You had that big photograph
That's what I mean. It's a bit like Stand in the Park. It kind of it peters out, there's that initial flush of interest. But Flat Earth is different because, there are there are people leaving the globe every day probably in their hundreds, if not more. I mean, it's just becoming far more commonplace, and it sparks me to think about, the anti-flat Earth contingent, although they carry with them quite a coterie of followers, of believers and acolytes. They are doing a great service or a great service to the cause of getting this truth out, I believe, because there are so many people who are brought to hear about the anti-flat Earth. And the thing is that if you do not have the discernment after hearing it spoken about a lot, like 6 times, if you've heard it 10 times and you still haven't taken it seriously enough, then you're not ready. And that's okay. But a lot of people are. And so another thing will happen. For example, the MAGA crowd in America, there will be those who, the recent revelations about there being no list, what are you talking about? All of that will spark some of them to go, damn, I'm willing to look at that flat Earth thing now. If this, I put everything in on Trump being the guy, then a few of them will go, no, I'm walking away from the whole thing. And then, yes, flat Earth.
Well, it's certainly the thread on the jumper, right? It's everybody needs a thread on the jumper that once you start pulling it, you can't really put it back together. The whole thing unravels. And that's different for everybody. There's a different entry point for that. I mean, we are in incredibly potent time, and there is yet to be more unfolding as we move forward. But, some of the things you watch, like this little thing we saw this morning of Trump, it's just, I mean, I know it's maybe easier for us to see that it's just so ridiculous, but I'm fairly certain there are others that are seeing that. And of course, also, all the promises, as per usual, all the promises that politicians make, and then those things don't happen or whatever, including the list that was supposed to be released.
What list? There never was a list. Who are you talking about anyway? There's no such person. Yeah, I have actually scratched a tiny bit of the surface of all of that, and I already had most of this stuff spelled out to me years ago, so it wasn't like there was any grand revelations. I mean, obviously, when Epstein didn't come out of prison alive, I did question whether that was necessary for the actor to actually die, right? You know how it is on stage. He looks like he's died, but then they wheel the box off, and then he gets up and goes to the green room and smokes a few doobies or whatever.
I suppose for me, because I'm not at all attached to any of that stuff, I find, like the little clip I saw this morning, I find it funny and maybe affirming. That's like, well, there you go. But I'm just not at all interested. I know that it's obviously for me it's all meant. However it's unfolding, and one thing will the join the dots basically that is taking us on a journey, but I'm not I'm not at all invested or interested really, other than, I mean, I know we've spoken about this before, you know, obviously from a logical protector provider point of view, the masculine perhaps, and that's the same for the feminine, there might be a masculine aspect to you that's really interested in that, but from my point of view, I really am really feeling such a big pull to create and not to consume. Doesn't mean I don't, and it's all right to have the balance right, I think. But it's just like it's like to be in that producer creator place rather than in the.
And also be in the stalls, you know, watching the theatre. You know, that's what they want us doing. Is we're watching a theatre, and how many times I've seen Don Petit say, like, the NASA astronaut, say, I'd go back to the moon in a nanosecond, but we've lost the technology. Now, how many times in my life am I going to have to watch that before I go, do you know what? I don't need to see, you know, because you stumble across it being said, you know, I'm not like I'm seeking out NASA footage, but the thing is, it's there all the time, you know, and people are making content with that clip included and stuff like that, and like, this is still watching the theatre, you know, this is still, we're just like in the back, you know, we're like in the, you know, the grunge tent at the back there where, you know, they've got some of the darker stuff, you know, that the regular folk can't cope with. We're still in the theatre. And so to step out of the theatre and to be a creator is a beautiful thing, and I commend it to us all to seek to achieve that where it's possible. And you know what, like, let's not say, oh well, the only way to be a creator is this, because that's not for me to determine the individual universe. That's what I wanted to say earlier today. I never got to say
my
that.
encouragement is more like whatever you are feeling drawn to or passionate about, or there's this like calling. Maybe you don't even have clarity on that, and that's okay too. But you just know that there is something wanting to come forth. Then that's fine too. You know, like I said, the mind shouts and the heart whispers. So sometimes we have to find the space and the quiet, even if it's, you know, very short 5 minutes in the morning or whatever. But yeah, there is we all have something that's calling us,
creating a stillness. I created something this week. This is beef tallow, made from like grass-fed, very, very clean cow. The fat that sits around the organs is said to be the very best of the fat that you can get. So by slowly rendering this, I have now made a pot and a half like this of what is cooking oil, and what I'm very excited about is for skin cream.
Well, I think to bring the conversation around what Dave and I are mindful of, because, you know, I was having this conversation with Luke the other day around the vegan movement, and that you know, when that was originally brought in, when it was created, was more about the welfare of animals, and so this brings me to the point of this, is that, you know, when people in the tribes hunt and kill an animal, they will firstly celebrate that animal. That night they will have a big party and they will celebrate that animal. They will also use every part of it. There's no waste. And so we've been thinking about that, and how what does that mean? How can we, and also knowing that a lot of the animal is actually, its nutritional value and its bioavailability is good for us.
Not according to Bill Gates.
So it's about both. It's about honouring and therefore not wasting, and also that actually there's value in more than just the bits that we fancy. And I know this is very popular now. Tallow has become more popular of late, especially because there's been a shift in a lot of people's thoughts on certain good fats.
Yeah, absolutely.
But in terms of cream, tallow is actually, your skin loves it because it's not made of, it's made of, of the same as what we're made of. But it takes a lot of, which is why Dave's showing it, because we're speaking about creativity, it takes a lot of time.
Took a lot of time
and effort
and minding my pot, so as not to get it too hot. And
when I say time, I mean days. The rendering process takes a couple of days, and there's all the prep beforehand, and then.
But it was a lot of fun, actually, really rewarding, and of course, I'll be sad when it's finished. Because we just had this perfect moment, and I'm not saying I can't recreate it to get to do it again in future, but I'd much rather cook with this.
I must tell you a little story about that, actually. Before we went to this area where we were able to acquire this particular animal, Dave declared out loud that he wanted to do the carnivore diet for a while for health reasons. He wanted to bring things back into best health, and he felt like that's something that he wanted.
Did I say carnivore, or that I just wanted to go towards the keto, more meat for a while? Just that I wanted to bring some meat into our lives.
Well, basically he said, I want us to eat good quality meat, and and cut out some of the carbs, because I think Dave has been dealing with some parasites, and actually parasites will demand carbohydrate, and so that's what he declared it. And then I think
within a day of arriving, I'd been pointed to this meat source, and two, I'd been pointed to a lady who really needed a whole lot of gardening done. So I'm earning cash, and I can go with that cash to the lady and get what I feel is, in the current time, the best value for money meat, because she's it's all clean, all grass. She hangs it for 28 days, so she loses a bit in terms of the weight, but the quality of the meat is good and stuff. Now we've run out of that. We don't want to go to the supermarket.
I think and I think actually also, sometimes something is for a season, and that's okay too. But Dave enjoyed creating that, so that was that.
Yeah, and if it's clean enough, it should be countertop stable for a few months. I will keep it in the fridge for now, but I think it's hopefully clean enough. But it was my first try. Anyways, that was that. Thought you might. Organic, nice to see you, Squirrel, Sniper. Makes me think we've got this thing coming up in August.
The Hope Festival.
23rd of August.
We are talking on the 25th, which is the Monday.
Yeah.
The Monday bank holiday Monday. But we are hoping to be around for some of the weekend anyway.
So if we can blag you
so if you want to come and spend a night or whatever, like the last time, that would be good to hang out with you.
If anyone else wants to come along, then please do, and support Hope Sussex. There'll be, I'm sure, a few speakers. Ike was there a few years ago, or a year ago, when I gave him my flyer. He hasn't gone flat yet.
No, he didn't get in contact with you.
That's a real surprise, actually. Yeah. I'm sure, maybe, did we have the right phone number on the card? It could be that there was a typo on that. That'll be why. I'm sure he's trying frantically to get hold of us. I was thinking of popping over to the Isle of Wight and having a word with him, go around his place. Anyway, I think Richard Bobes, and I don't know if Katie Hopkins does something separately or she will be there. Not
she has
everyone's
done
cup of
events
tea.
there. I don't know that she'll be there for that. I know that we couldn't remember the name the last time. A UK column.
That's it.
Is taking
They
over the talking
on the
tents.
Sunday.
No, Saturday.
Saturday.
The days have themes this year, and I know that the Monday is more spiritual, and we've been slotted into
the spiritual section.
The spiritual section, which is fine. And
Yeah.
Dave, I don't know the times yet, but Dave will talk first, and then I will talk immediately after that.
They did actually have an event earlier where they had a guy talking flat Earth.
Yes,
They
did
actually. Now I think about it.
But it was a separate whole one night event. I didn't really know the name of the guy, so that's good.
Yeah.
Not everybody there is.
No, flat Earth is still very much a bit of a taboo subject, even for Hope Sussex.
But we do
have, in the fullness of time,
we do have some lovely supporters like Bella.
Yeah.
And in fact, she sent Dave a message saying.
Awesome message.
Saying a friend of hers wants to come for a day
on the
ticket.
Monday. He's got a day ticket to come on a Monday. Why? He wants to see me.
Yes, because she sent Dave's videos to him, and Dave has brought him round.
Has helped encourage him to review for himself, because obviously. We can't make anyone. It's really the individual journey of unpicking it. But when you hear a sensible voice, assuming that I'm talking about myself, but when you hear a sensible, reasonable voice talking, and you go, okay, maybe there's something to this. I remember that with Dave Murphy. Actually, I saw his interview with Malenko, the one that was sort of viral in the 2015 period, I suppose. And that was like the first time I'd heard anyone that I'm like, okay, this is a real guy, talking with an English accent as well, but a real guy, laying out some stuff that makes absolute sense to me, I'd already gone through the debate and Mark Sargent and other sort of content, and I was not wanting to jump too soon. I was thinking, I could be getting punked here again. So I think that's nice. Well, that's very nice. And so thanks, Bella, for that. And I shall look forward to meeting him. In fact, at the Sounds Beautiful festival, I met someone who also said, you were the one that, was the moment where I've gone, no, actually. And that's a special thing. For some guys, there's obviously thousands and thousands of people who've had that experience with their content, but for me, it's a rare and therefore cherished. Yeah, so that's cool. That's on the 23rd, as you said. Did you say 23rd?
No, 25th.
25th.
25th is the bank holiday Monday, so we're on the Monday, but it will be running from the Friday to the Monday.
Yeah, and you get day tickets for like a tenner or something. I don't think it's too pricey.
I don't know I know we have personally have 10% off. So if someone wants to get a day ticket, we can give them a discount.
Yeah, we got a promo code. We've got a promo code.
Yeah.
So click the link down here. It's not there, is it?
But it's a sweet little festival. It has music. It has music, and there's a Flat Earther AD that does his own little set
thing,
and it's if you fancy going somewhere. It's not particularly huge, but there's a fair bit going on.
There's a few fields. Well, okay, I don't know, but there's a couple of fields for the camping and all of that. There's a few fields. And then there's like a half a field with sort of stalls and things, and then they've got a tent, maybe a bigger one than the last time we were there. So we're talking about getting a... Anyway, that's that.
Hopefully it won't rain like it did last time.
Hopefully it
Yeah,
won't rain.
it did rain a lot. Although we're in Somerset and obviously we were in the Cotswolds, and it has been so dry and brown. And of course, over the last few days, I'm sure if you're in the UK, you probably had some too. It's rained and it's already changed, hasn't it?
Immediately, almost immediately the greenness. Wow! And when you look out there now, it almost seems like it's a normal green. When you look above it, wow, that's perspective and angular resolution. When you look above it, you can see the holes in the brown bits. But from this angle, there's a lot of green, so that's very nice. Nature is phenomenal, and her ability to bounce back better after a little blip. And Martin Lieke has had, actually. It makes me think, because I said that to him the other day. He came back from his Venice thing and went on a wild ride of fever, but he seems to be bounced back better.
Well, actually, the energy can sometimes, that we've been in this very purge energy, and of course, depending on where it is, it can manifest as something physical, and even the energy at the moment can feel like you're exhausted or lack motivation, so it can feel intense sometimes, but yeah, you can have sort of flu-like symptoms because your body could be trying to detox something out.
Yeah. But otherwise, the weather's cool, and the world is still doing what it's doing. There seems to, for me, like when I think about the world affairs, it's almost like after that. Actually, I wanted to share this thought. After that U.S. attack on Iran, and then there was a little kind of, oh well, we'll pop one back at you. Everything for me, like it's been like a stillness in that, and it's a calm before the storm, perhaps. But it feels like that. It feels like there's a brewing, but we can't see it. It's happening in the corridors of corruption. But what I wanted to share with you is that what was the purpose of that attack? We were talking about how, I won't go into the link between Uranus and uranium right now, but that the Iranian people could have been or were weaponized by that attack. Because you know how it is, like, your village is all kind of doing their own thing, but the moment a band comes from the other village to maraud, then your village will stand together. And that's what's happening in the village we call Iran at the moment, is that people are mobilizing in their minds. It's a little bit like the 2019 video that surfaced towards the end of 2019 or whenever, of a man falling over in Wuhan, China, dying suddenly. It was pre-programming. So for the Iranian people, why not? The same with 9/11. Why not a pre-programming of the people there so that they are ready? Because the Iranians are historically, and they must be very proud of this, they've never started a war. And they're the oldest country, apparently.
And 7 were that too, weren't they?
They were priming events. This is what happens, and the same with the boat stuff, with the migrants, and the stuff happening with ICE in America. It's priming. Aussie, it's all the same there. Priming for there's a next thing that we're going to have to do. And it was interesting, even with the COVID exercise, was how, in the first 3 weeks, it was just go home, that's it. Don't have to think about anything else. Go home, have a few beers, sit in the sun, we'll pay you. And then it was the priming of messages and people getting those messages until it's like, people started putting on the nappy on the face, and you see 3 or 4 in the supermarket. Then it was like half of the supermarket, and then it was like within the next day, it was like all of them, kind of thing. And same with the policing of it. Like in the beginning, the policing was like very soft, like loving, oh, we're all like in this together, whatever. Now it's like on your back, on your knees, blah, blah, blah. Like, well, and we couldn't step from normal to new normal in one day. It had to be like a priming and a preparation. And I do wonder whether that wasn't an event designed to prime the Iranian people for what's coming their way.
Well, you see, for me, what I see is that we have got certain energy around that is actually an opportunity for us to choose to do different. But by them, then it's no different to the 2020 thing that was pulled. There is a narration that has been part of a script for a very long time, but there's this narration that they are playing out perfectly at the right time. We were talking earlier about numerology. Numerology came before astrology. That they are using the numbers and the words and the energy, and placing a script to it, to bring about, or to actually co-create something that is their vision. But actually the opportunity for us is that we are not tapped into that, and that we're tapped into our own true nature, and that we're creating from that space. We're co-creating with life from that space. And I think that's for me, choice, when I can choose, that's when I'm free. When I can have that discernment to choose, and choose from a place that's much deeper, and coming from a completely different place to what's on the outside storyline. So you said I won't talk about Uranus and uranium. Well, I think that is part of it. I think that there is this really important Uranus energy that is, Uranus is known as the awakener, and there's this Uranus energy, it's the rebellion. He brings chaos to create change, and to wake people up to who they are, and they are using that
to bring people out of their slumber.
But at the same time, they can also, we know that you can build a narrative which has been.
But it was also the interesting link about how Uranus is meant to be like a good energy in a way.
Well, no, the Aquarius is got two rulers, Saturn and Uranus, and they're fighting each other, really. And actually, the Saturnian energy is the system or authority or restriction and limitation, and Uranus is the rebel, and wants to break free and wants to awaken, and they're fighting with each other, and that's exactly what we're seeing playing out in the context of war, is the Saturn and the Uranus.
Yeah, and actually, carry on.
Yeah, no, and that's where the whole nuclear Uranian.
Well, that was what we were speculating on, was that, isn't it interesting how, Uranus is the counter to Saturn, and the system we live under is very Saturnian, all this.
Saturnian being control, limitation, restriction, very rule orientated, very serious.
So it's just a coincidence, perhaps, that Iran is said to be enriching uranium, that even though, all their weapons inspectors had said, they've got nowhere near the enrichment level that you need for weapons. We're quite happy with that. One of Trump's own aides said the same thing. And yet they still went on a bombing run to knock out uranium sites. And uranium and Uranus are too close. Iran is also a close word to Iran, uranium. But anyway, it was interesting for me, what a coincidence, that they were making people have negative thoughts about uranium, while at the moment Uranus is trying to do us a favor, and we're like so Saturnian that we're like, yeah, we'll bomb the hell out of Uranus. Okay, that sounded a bit weird, but you know what I mean. So,
David Callahan says, the purple, I think that's supposed to be rain, RAGN, but it's probably a typo. The purple rain is real, Dave, and it's the truth is time, pal. We are the sounds of Saturn, so keep speaking up and getting louder to give the sternum a workout.
Well, thank you. I think what he didn't mistype that actually.
Oh.
Rain meaning, the time of the purple. I mean, I'm assuming because I don't know. I mean, obviously the Queen the royals are associated with purple.
Oh, sorry.
And purple reign of Prince. There is a lot of symbolism in all of that. Did he die the same year that she did? I've got a funny feeling he did.
Who, Prince?
Prince, yeah.
No, he died after. I'm fairly certain he didn't die the same time as her.
Not the same time, same year.
No, I don't think I think he was much later than that.
Anyway, I'm only thinking, I'm speculating now what you're saying, but I'm thinking, the purple rain obviously being the royalty, the higher chakra, the highest kind of all. And, maybe our time, well, I mean, in a way, this is a great time. It is a great time to be alive. Not in a way, it is a great time to be alive.
It's super exciting time to be alive. And actually, you all chose to be here. So it's exactly how it should be. And
we, it's not like I need to go into Buckingham Palace and sit on a throne and what I want to be a king like Charles and have a crown on my head and all that. None of that stuff has any meaning at all here, So it's not like it's that kind of a. It's like we need the whole world to go. Yep, we can all go and sit on the Buckingham Palace. I don't think that, but we can reign as sovereign in our lives, and much as is possible, build up your armor against the world that would stay in this Saturnian.
I think your armor is actually energetic.
Well, did you see it the other day? We did a live stream since I did the street activism the other day.
No, the street activism was the day after.
Oh yeah, that was quite a day actually. I forgot to mention that, wasn't it? I don't know if you saw it, but I did two different streets.
Dean said he died when the royal beer came out, Purple Rain beer.
Really? Right. Well, I did two streets on last Saturday. In the morning I went to Wales, smallest city in the country with a big cathedral. And it was a little bit kind of squeezed in on a market day, so it wasn't quite my ideal. But I had some interesting conversations and a few good ones, and a guy who was a quantum physicist at lectures at Bath University. He's like, I really enjoy meeting people like you. You're thinking outside of the box, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, I'm lecturing in a month's time or something like that. Or he's doing a lecture sometime. He wants to share this information, not specifically to do with flat Earth, but he was so close to kind of like recognize. He said, recognizing like I did when I studied the quantum stuff, was that this makes so much sense if you create a field, if it's allowed to be a perturbation, it's a pushing the jelly, if you like, in the field, and so that was really nice. However, and that's why I was thinking, what brought to mind was that armor. I'm standing there doing my like little bit of town crier thing, and there's a marketplace, and of course people are kind of leering and looking in and what have you from afar, and so it's like the armor is such that you don't care about that, and it's not you're impervious to it. A little bit like ZZ. Chanting on the tour. That was such a beautiful example of him being completely like unaffected by the world around him. It's not always like that. And if you've got like if I'd try to force it, I'd say, come, let's go and chant or something like that. He probably would have gone, no, I don't want to do that. But it just came completely naturally. So I was presented with a man on Saturday who got angry with me, actually, about flat earth stuff, I think. And so stormed off, and then came back half an hour later, and I did recognize him. So I said, I remember you. I think you got angry with me. And I asked him not to. And we agreed that would be okay. And we were having a decent conversation. And then I mentioned 2020. And no, you don't think that was... I know people, I work in it. Whoa. Volcanic eruption. But it barely penetrated my armor. So that's a good thing. And I think so we can be in the world, but not necessarily too kind of afflicted by its
and in our fullest
charms.
And in our fullest expression, right? You know, it's only because we were told by by experiences, that our expression was shameful, it was too much, it was not good enough, whatever it was, and then we started to care, you know, that if the outside was pleased with us or disappointed, or you know, whatever it was, but in some way we started to reshape or hold back or whatever our expression. And that's why it was so beautiful to see Zizi the other day, because he honestly sat there freely, not caring, and just doing his thing. And you know, I know that Dave and I can both say from our childhoods that wasn't the case for us. You know, I know that Zi's obviously been fortunate in certain situations where he hasn't had to have too much of that molding or shaming, but you know, and that's it's not perfect either. You know, there's certain areas in his life that you can already tell that there are certain aspects that he carries on wound. I mean, it is my honest truth that we're born with a wound and things that we have to evolve through and alchemize, every single one of us. So no one comes here without that mission. And so, and I truly believe we choose our parents. We choose the experience that we need for this lifetime, and then life curates that for us. And in Z's case, he chose us. In my case, I chose my mother. And now that I'm in a good place with that, I can see that and be really grateful and have an open, loving heart towards her.
You know, in a way, if we can't leave this life grateful, then we leave this life a victim. And we really don't want that. Because we're not victims. Yes, you know, stuff is done. Some stuff is worse than others, people. But we are holding ourselves low, holding ourselves back by remaining in that victim state. And I see this, some messages I got from a South African coloured guy who feels very much coloured, being like what they call the sort of brown skinned people in South Africa. They're I think they're still comfortable with being called coloured people. It doesn't mean black. That's different in South Africa. Black people are the African, you know, Xhosa, Zulu, and
no,
Sotho.
the coloureds are Xhosa. They just yes. I just think there has been some mixing.
I thought they were Cape Malay.
No. Remember those people we met in Coffee Bay? Yeah. They were Xhosas.
Oh, okay. And they were coloured, though.
But they
I
would be
wouldn't have thought they were
coloured,
right. Okay.
Because I think there has been some mixing along the way.
Well, you know, I mean, the white rose sees the red rose, and you know that can happen.
I just truly believe that through our pain we found our power.
So yeah, but this point in my story is that, you know, this guy is feeling amongst his peers, you know, that they are still the victims, and then white people are feeling like they have been victimized now, and you know, and you can kind of, obviously the black folks have got the monopoly on that, perhaps. arguably.
Well, there's that phrase, isn't there? It's not my fault, but now it's my responsibility.
So,
And things happen and they hurt, but actually,
and they can hurt for a while.
but true freedom is when you can actually forgive and or certainly come to some sort of peace over it. Sometimes, like I've said before, it does mean that you can't have a relationship or you don't want a relationship with the person that did that for many reasons. But you can still, there's that saying, you can love, but you don't have to like. And, sometimes we can still love someone even though we don't necessarily like the way they behave. So there's a few more people in the chat.
Before I got into the flat earth 10 years ago, I was like on my way to getting to a point where I could meet with Angolan soldiers from the other side and sit down with them, and I think in the fullness of time that will happen, but obviously my life got taken along a different path, and the whole veteran thing sort of imploded because people don't want to talk about flat earth.
Well, there's a lot of pain still.
So so we are doing ourselves a disservice. Oh, he did this to me, or she did that to me. Well, while you're hanging on to that, then even though they might have left your life already, or the government, or whatever.
I have a different view that I think all relationships, whether that be a work colleague, someone you just meet briefly, a friend, a partner, a family member, what we really have is this opportunity to be mirrors to each other and actually help each other in this journey to come to our highest path or highest expression. Most particularly in partnerships, but in all relationships.
But you want both partners to do the work, right? It can't be like a one.
Totally, because otherwise the other one will outgrow the other one, and then move on, and probably not want to spend time with them. So absolutely, but we're there as opportunities to almost trigger each other, to evoke that which needs to be healed and evolved and transmuted, and equally to evoke love. I don't think we give each other love. I think we evoke it in each other. And sometimes that means getting through the layers of protection first, and sometimes that means having to walk away even. But do we do it with our hearts open, or do we do it with our hearts closed? And I think that's the difference.
Well, I like the way you say that, evoke, because it makes me think of when you've got a pet, and we've obviously had that opportunity to touch down with lots of different animals over the last few years, briefly. And I know that there are some that evoke a sense of love towards them more than others. I can look after animals, kind of no problem and whatnot, but there's some that evoke that sense of love.
And it doesn't mean that your heart is closed to the others,
No.
but you just may not like that breed.
Well,
or
it's not
that
even, it's not,
temperament
well, it doesn't evoke.
Yes.
I really enjoyed that little bulldog, he was, I actually... it evoked, but the other one, the older one, evoked more kind of a sense of...
well, the other thing about evoking is that if I'm not giving and taking, then no one can take it from you either. So that's why I believe love is a state. I'm in a state of love. I'm in a loving a frequency or energy. And then that person comes and they bumps into me and they evoke it from me, and then I share in that. We're in each other's fields,
and it comes from within. It's like really.
It's a wholeness. It's the experience of being whole, rather than someone needs to come in and complete that feeling. And that's a journey. I think that's a journey that perhaps we're all on.
And actually. like even with our fellow man, actually, I know sometimes, but today I was reminded, forgive them for they know not. That phrase applies to, to even. Yeah, even some
Well,
of the.
if we're all an expression of God,
I mean,
if
there's
we're
some
all an
names that come
expression
to
of,
mind. You think you don't
yeah,
want
but
to.
if we're all an expression of God,
if you don't forgive them, you're still the victim.
exactly,
You know.
exactly,
Because
they
Bill
still,
Gates
exactly,
and whatever.
and you're still attached, right?
Larry
you're still
Trump.
attached to the story, even if it's you're hating on them, you're still attached.
Yeah. Jeffrey.
And really, it's about like and forgiveness is really not about giving something to the other person. It's about setting yourself free, and them, but setting yourself free. And I remember in the Course in Miracles, Nathan might know this, Squirrel Sniper, that they say that forgiveness is, and I think we may have spoken about this once before, that forgiveness is not something God has to do. It's something that is a human,
yes, True.
experience.
True. True.
And I'm not saying forgiveness is easy, and I even wouldn't force someone to feel forgiveness. I think it's something that the more you are able to heal and be with those parts of you that feel pain, the easier it is to let go of needing to hold someone accountable for it. And that's a journey and a process, and it's different for everyone. But it really is, this is the responsibility part, because it really is all up to you. And I think that experience is what brings you back to your heart and brings you back to that state of love. And again, I'm not, it's not the love that we've been taught, that it's all this, it has to be all blissful and butterfly-y and whatever. Sometimes love is, in the garden picking up the dog poo.
Whoa.
Sometimes it's, it's hugging someone because they feel sad.
You did a nice thing the other day. We were in Glastonbury. After I did Wells, Karen from Sun and Moon Family came around with Jimbo. We agreed to take ourselves off to Glasgow for a little wander around and whatnot and see Lisa. And so I was doing, I thought, I'll bring my banner along and I'll sling it up if I can for a little while. And I did for an hour or so. There was a kind of homelessy looking guy over the road on a bench with a tin of strong...
Well, he was smiling.
Yeah, and he was kind of smiling over at us. And so Andrea at some point decided she was going to go and, show him a little bit of kindness. And she did, and I admire you for that. But yeah, I think it was also a bit of a, not a rude awakening, because you've spoken with people like this before. They're so far...
Well, I mean, there are. I mean, I suppose I initially went over there just to... Because I just feel like people who are homeless are often... Well, I know, I don't even have to guess, because I've spoken to many, that they feel so unseen, and actually they're treated like they are just the scum of... And I understand, they often bring... a certain element to an area, but now and again I just like to show some love. I like to evoke some love, and I wanted to just go and say hello to him and find out what his story was. It was a very broken story, and I realized in talking to him that, he was obviously quite drunk. Not so drunk. I think it's probably a very normal state of
slurring.
Yeah, and so I just sat and had a conversation with him. I don't know that many people do, and it's a very sad story. And of course, I asked him if he was happy, and he, in his drunken state, said he's very happy. And I just left him with love. And sometimes that's with someone in that place in their life. That's all you can do. You know, I didn't need to save him or make it better for him. But just sometimes giving the person a moment is a loving thing to do.
Yeah, absolutely. We all need a friend.
So,
Did you say there was some
yeah,
new...
I don't know if you saw David Callahan. We spoke about what he said. He said, Dave, when I look at the white light sun, it turns purple and green and rainbow colours. The plane in the sky doesn't hit the canvas. I'm not sure.
I'm thinking about that.
Okay. And
when I sun gaze, I I see like this black dot doing
Robin's
this.
in the chat. Lifting the lid, rebranded.
Oh wow!
Hey, good
Robin
to have
Campbell.
you here.
Thanks for stopping by.
Yeah.
You starting to? I saw something with you in it, or the other day actually. So I was wondering if you were venturing out a little bit more. Anyway, Robin's an OG from back in the day. I think he organised the 2019 conference.
He did, yes.
In Kidderminster.
Yes. Well, it's good to have you in the space.
In fact, it was Robin I phoned in the days. Must have been 3 days or 5 days before the conference, and said, I'd like to come, but I can't afford a ticket. I need to come. And Mark Sargent was related 2 days. Like, yeah, well, Mark Sargent's doing like some activism in
Wales.
Yeah, Cardiff.
That's when you had to.
So that was the Wednesday. That was the Wednesday. So I take a bus out on the Wednesday and go and hang out with Martin and Mark Sargent. We did a bit of activism that day, and I had to run for the bus. Martin said he's never seen anyone run so fast. So if I'd missed that bus, I had to stay a night or something. And I couldn't be doing that.
It was Jess's birthday the next day, that's why.
Right.
I think that the story as well about the conference was that people were upset, I think, with the Mark Sargent element. It was, believe it or not, still happening back then. And you were adamant that you wanted to come and try and be a bridge. That it didn't need to be that way, that we were, all in this together. And
that's right, because Robin was copping a lot of grief, I think, because of his inviting Mark to be the keynote speaker.
Well, I don't know about that personally, but I think that people were, anyway, it doesn't matter. That was within days we made a decision to go, and actually it was a very, very interesting. It just shows how life unfolds in the way that it should, and you can make these decisions.
Because Jason said to me there, I saw Jason there, and he's like, you know what, I don't know, 2019 had been a hard year for me. I'd had that horrible thing happen at the end of 2018, really destroyed my self-confidence, and so 2019 hadn't been a great year of activism for me, and kind of maybe gone off the boil a little bit, but Jason...
We had a lot going on
We did have a lot going on.
In our family and home life.
So, and then Jason says to me, look, I have a work problem and I may not be able to cover the weeks that I was going to do on the tour. Would you be game for it? And I said, yes. But we were, at that point, on that Wednesday... Oh, that was the Wednesday I go to Cardiff. On the Friday we go off to Kidderminster to the conference, and on that day, on the Saturday or Sunday, Jason says maybe you can go on the tour. And then that was that weekend, and then 5 days later we'd finished packing up our house, and we moved to
Scotland.
Well, yeah, we had a couple of nights with Harry MacDonald. Globe Line. And don't forget, oh gosh, her name has slipped my mind.
I can't even think of it.
Oh, my
I've got
Lord.
a mind blank as well.
She started the Birmingham meetup. She started the very first meetup, and she very kindly took our cat. Oh,
mind blank.
Mind blank.
Mind blank.
Speaking of our cat, sorry to go throw a spanner in the works, but our dog we had with us at that point, Pebbles, and she came with us to Portugal. We got her like a vaccine passport. She came with us to Portugal. And then when we were like, all right, we're on the flight to South Africa and we're never coming back and what have you.
2021.
2021.
Middle of COVID.
Yeah, when the world's never going to be unlocked. We're going to South Africa, we're hunkering down, we're going to grow weed. We find a lovely lady to take ownership of our dog Pebbles, and
just like if you could imagine a owner that would be the best owner, she was the best owner. She just
lovely
was
lady
just
and
so
really
lovely
kind
and
to our dog,
just adored Pebbles.
who we'd had since 2010, and she'd been with me through all sorts of travails in that period, coming through flat Earth eventually, and then she didn't mind actually. She was like, you know what? Of course it's not spinning.
And then she took on a new baby as well, and she was amazing with
Zizi,
when he was a baby.
She was amazing. Well, we're obviously building up to. She unfortunately passed away 2 days ago, and so with it closes a particular chapter. You know, she was 15 and a half, so that represents like half of our time in the UK, actually.
You know, we were talking in the very beginning about endings and beginnings, or death and rebirth, and it really felt like a significant moment in terms of something that was finishing or.
Yeah, some of you Squirrel would have obviously met her, but.
I think a few people might have, because she was around.
Back in the day, she was
around quite a lot.
Yeah, she didn't come on the Globe Light tour, but she was around for a lot of things. And
she would have come if she could have.
Absolutely.
Anyway, you were interrupted when you were answering that question about the rainbow.
Oh yeah, so okay. Well, I could unpack that. I mean, I'm interested in your perspective. I see this like black kind of thing doing this around my eye in the sun, almost like this. Well, I started thinking about a black hole, and like it's like an orb, and what you're seeing there is something behind the light or whatever that you can't see because the light is so bright coming from it that you don't normally see unless you acclimatized to it. But then there's probably more that you're trying to tell me that I'm not picking up on there, and that something didn't touch the sky. That part was interesting.
I don't.
No matter. It's an interesting comment.
Anyway, so we have obviously Unplugged and Unstoppable, Robin.
Oh yeah.
And we have the Sute. We have Just JP. I don't know if you've mentioned him already. Warning Sky Dome.
Warning Sky Dome.
Tony Dixon.
Hi, Tony.
I think that's all that's new, but really nice to have you all here. And something called 4 Jacks.
Hi, 4 Jacks.
And Re-op.
Thanks for all your support.
Asking, when are you coming to Brighton? We aren't. I mean, that might happen. We don't know yet, but certainly the Hope Festival is not terribly far from
it's about
Brighton.
an hour, I suppose.
Yeah, so I mean, if that's an option,
and
then,
Squirrel might be coming to that as well.
Anne Gaynor is
again.
In the chat. Dr. Bass.
Hey, Bass.
Obviously, Voy. Martin Leaker.
Hi, Martin. I gave you a shout earlier,
They clapped on the buses. They clapped on the bus as Dave ran.
Oh, yeah. Whoa, thanks for remembering that, Martin. Yeah. Yeah, you know, guys, so that was weird because the bus, I was walking and talking with Martin, and if you've spent time with Martin, you know that he can talk, right? A
So
lot.
can you.
Oh,
So the two of you together.
Oh, no, I got to step aside when OG Martin comes in the room because there's a lot of talk in there. He's got a lot of grease on the wheels. But anyway, so he's chatting away and we're walking and I'm like, okay, hopefully the time. And then we've gone to the wrong, because he knows his town so well, he's taking me to the wrong, I think this is how the story goes. He might have a different memory of it. Taking me not quite to the right place as to where the bus is meant to leave from. The bus is left from somewhere else and we're like, oh shit, it's not left from here. And this is the time that the bus is meant to have left. So I've kind of missed it. And he and I are like walking, and I'm thinking, shit, I'm in trouble, man. Andrew's going to be giving me shit if I do not get home tonight, because I promised I would be home, and this was the last bus out of Dodge. And so we're like walking, and I'm like, wait, what? There's the bus. So there's the bus, the Greyhound bus or whatever, the National Express, leaving town. And I'm like, I'm stopping this bus. So I'm like after this bus, right? And he's at a traffic light, and I go and stand in front of the bus. I'm like, let me on. He's like, no, go up. He doesn't open the bus or anything. He points and goes up the road. So I'm like, oh, there's another stop. There's another stop out of town. It's maybe, I'm going to say a mile.
Yeah,
it might have been more, might have been less.
Martin said it was a mile. You
right.
ran a mile, the quickest mile he's ever seen.
So I had to like belt it and get to this bus, and yeah, and then people were applauding, and there was because they could see me like running along there, man. I didn't want to miss that bus.
Actually, you have got you're quite zippy. Not as zippy as your older son, but you are
Luke's
quite
faster
zippy.
than me now.
Luke's legs, literally, he only takes 1 foot, one step, and he's finished the race. Greg Glyph is also in the chat.
I did mention last time I do want to start doing some writing. I know I haven't, as I said at the beginning of the stream, I haven't felt like super like, hey, let's get up and go. I mean, it could be the environment, the change of the house and stuff. But as Andrew said, you know, the energy has been a bit like that. But lovely to see you.
Yeah, but I think we're moving into that. And also Uranus has moved into Gemini, which is in your 9th house, which is the house of publishing. So it might well be that, and that's there for 7 years, although it does retrograde this year. So it moves back into Taurus for a bit. But that might be something that over the next 7 years you feel inspired to...
I tried to inspire a young man yesterday with a drinking problem. I didn't try and inspire him to have a drinking problem. I asked him what his talents were, and he said he's a good writer, but the drink is in the way. I try to be a little inspirational. He's only been living in Glastonbury for a month, so hopefully he finds harmony.
Yeah.
Was there anyone else who had any other questions or any other thoughts? Yeah, I applied this tallow to my skin today. So I'm very interested to see. I haven't bothered with skin cream for a long time. If I put skin cream on my skin once a year or whatever, that would, so it's not really like a part of my routine to use skin cream. And partly that was because, well, as a bloke, it wasn't really a bloke thing ever to do, really, to put the skin cream on. I know nowadays, they got face creams and shit like that for us guys, but it was never really a thing in my culture to grow up with skin cream and face cream and blow drying the hair. And I did wear hair gel for a few years, to be honest. Yeah, I did.
Was this like confession time?
Yeah. But not the skin cream so much. Yeah, partly is like, we don't, and then partly, certainly in the last 10 years, not wanting to touch parabens and things that are, in most of our skincare. But this is fascinating to me, and I've heard really good things about the tallow. So I'll let you know. I mean, if you don't recognize me next Friday because I look so young, then you'll know it's worked. So, and I might be able to organize you a little pot. If want some of the elixir of life, elixir of youth. Anyway, we don't want to worry too much about the canvas on the outside. But I think that we should.
It is your temple.
Yeah,
it is your temple.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
And I think actually, when we care about the canvas,
Yeah.
it's actually it's an act of self-love, right? So I don't think we're taught that, right?
Yeah.
Oh, don't, and especially the masculine is like, oh, don't take care of yourself. And
well, because there's a line between taking care of the temple and vanity, right?
Well,
it's like the temple with all the Trump treatment. It's all gold on the outside and shit like that, and then they got these.
I don't know even know. You know what? If that's, I mean, like with everything, I think that sometimes we can focus on the wrong things because it means we don't have to focus on the real things. So with everything, I mean, it's even going to the gym can actually end up being an addiction because you're not.
In a way.
But gym in its pure sense is not harmful. It's it's moving your body. So with everything, it's about balance. It's about finding the right. But I also think that, and this is something that I've been thinking about a lot, is like, that's how that person wants to express themselves. That's how that person wants to express themselves. And who am I to say how that needs to be? If someone wants to, it's a bit like Zizi and his hair. I've had to face so much of my own programming around,
shame.
And what he needs to look like, and what others going to think about it. And he is so determined that that's how he wants his hair. And we really are trying to honor that. It's a real balance as a parent because the fringe needs a little bit of a trim so you can see his eyes better and whatever. But that's the way that he wants to express himself. And because I wasn't given that, and more than likely Dave neither, and then everybody else, and especially if you were in certain schooling systems or families, etc., it was like there was the way that you had to behave, there was a way that you had to express yourself, there was a way you had to dress, there was a way you had to behave, and so that's all a lot of the time something that we are projecting onto our children, and really what we should just be is like stewards of our children or guides, or I mean, our only job is to make them feel safe and loved, and full acceptance of how they want to express themselves. And that's so triggering for us that didn't get given that. And so I'm trying to be more mindful of that when I see people out on the street, no matter what, and noticing how I still have sometimes those that need to go, well, that's not how it should be. Well, it's not. I don't.
You're not the judge of that.
I'm not the judge of that, or I do not know you at all, or what.
Judge ye not, lest ye be judged yourself.
Yes.
I mean, although it's a bit sort of old world.
I know, but I think it's an acceptance of people as they are, instead of needing them to be different.
Yeah.
And that actually reflects back to us. Can we be an acceptance of exactly who we are in this present moment, exactly what we're feeling in this present moment, exactly what is going for us in this present moment, and not needing for it to be any different.
Yeah. But, I guess just like giving people information is something that many people like to do. I like to do. Then I did regret walking away from that guy yesterday when I reflected on the conversation, the young man with the drinking, the writer, that I never said that phrase to him, that, your body is the temple of God. Imagine that.
I think imparting experience and information isn't the problem. It's that when we're invested in them receiving it.
Yeah, no, it's not. Not invested in them receiving it, but like and even knowing that, you know, you can leave someone with a nugget like that and it may never seep in, or it may seep in but much later on down the line, and so that's okay. I'm okay with that either way, you know. But if we were
pop the light on.
if we were raised knowing that we were the expression of the most high of high or highs, then we would. I'm not sure if that's all right. Yeah, that works better. I'm not sure that, you know, we would. Maybe we would be a little better stewards of our own lands. You know, the lands that you stand on. We would be better stewards of that. In the main, and I don't say that because, oh well, woe is me. You know, just in the same way as I think that the earth can heal itself, even though man has come up with some rather unfortunate procedures. So the body has got amazing powers of healing. But yeah, if we.
But equally, we're spending so much of our life force in resistance or trying to control how things. Are to avoid feeling, you know, some of that original pain or experience again, and we're literally that's why I think we live much shorter lives, because it's all being and, you know, and all this mind stuff on how we should be and shouldn't be, and you know, there's so much of that is we're programmed to feel like and I know some people say, oh, I don't care, I'm just who I am, and maybe, but I think that all of us carry that, you know, that deep wound of either I'm not good enough or I'm too much, and depending on the situation, we kind of moderate ourselves to fit in wherever that situation is. And that's, you know, that's an old, because we're born with no fears and just this purest energy. And again, I think that it's all meant, you know, we're all supposed to come here and have these experiences that then mean we have something to evolve and heal and bring to wholeness. I truly believe that, and I see that in everybody's chart, that there is. And then, you know, there's the dark and the light side to all the areas of our life that we have a choice to alchemize.
I see someone gave us a thumbs up. Thanks very much for that. Very much appreciated. Yeah, well, and the thing is, with this idea of being the temple of God, or a vessel of the spark, it's not to be like purist
or perfect
or have it. Well, no one can be. Perfection is, I think,
know, but
maybe in small areas, but perfection in everything.
No, I don't.
And even the seeking
I don't think
of that.
there isn't.
No,
is such a thing.
No,
but I guarantee you, they're in various areas of people's lives. They will feel like because they can't reach that perfection, they are either not good enough, or they're too much, or they're a failure, or they're going to be
extremism.
rejected.
It leads to extremism. Either you end up battering yourself with, some substance or something, or you become such a sergeant major type, who is going to seek to control everything, such as they did with, the Talmudic kind of beliefs and stuff. Is that there's 600 rules and you have to follow all of these 600 rules, and if you don't, then you're whatever, all punishment and all sorts of psychology that's used against you,
that's
blah, blah, blah.
Essentially the
So I don't really like that kind of thinking. For me, it's more got to be you're going to make mistakes. Yeah, you're going to, and it's okay and it's okay if you've eaten too much or drank too much or whatever. It's more like, what are you going to learn from that? Or are you a slow learner? And if you are, that's okay too.
Can you just take me out of the screen? I just want to share something which I might is kind of on point to this too.
Are you wanting to go on to...
Yeah, onto the Brave.
Okay.
I'm going to just pop to my Instagram.
All right.
And I've shared some of this guy's stuff before. He writes really well, so I just want to share something that he wrote recently. It was this one. There's two that I will. He wrote, what you call your triggers are actually love expressing itself as tension, withdrawal, shutdown, and anger. Your resistance isn't a mistake. It's a beautiful, intelligent movement of life, protecting a tender, overwhelmed nervous system. You're not broken, just defended. You've adapted brilliantly, wisely, innocently. Your reactions don't mean you're failing at life. They mean you're surviving it. But you deserve more than just survival. So today, instead of shaming or fighting those energies, offer them your warm attention. Let them soften in the light of understanding. Even your defenses are beautiful. Even your resistance is welcome here. Even your triggers are deeply sacred. So I thought that was rather beautiful. And then there's this one too. Don't try to trust. Simply trust that you cannot trust right now. Don't force gratitude. Just be grateful that you aren't grateful today. Love your inability to love fully and accept your non-acceptance. Surrender to your absolute failure to surrender right now. Whatever arises, however disappointing, say, you are none other than life itself, and I bow to you. This is freedom.
That is beautiful. I really like that. And for me, when I do coaching, sometimes I'll employ that idea of, the energies that are coming up, the feelings that you're having, the emotion. They are somewhat a protective mechanism, and they've been developed over time to keep you sort of safe.
In particular, anger, because anger's a boundary setting thing. So anger's often that I feel my boundaries have been set, or that I'm trying to protect myself from something.
And so oftentimes there is a practice that we use to identify that feeling and to say, I thank you for your, defending me. But I want my freedom more than I need your protection now. Because the little boy or little girl who developed that for various reasons is no longer needing that level protection. And so it's no longer going to serve me, and I'm going to lovingly ask it to.
But it takes time to create that awareness, right? Because it's so default. It's something that's has been protecting you for so long, and probably appropriately so, most especially when you were younger. But I suppose that also what that little bit said is it's that part of that imperfection, or perfectly imperfect, where it's like, some days you don't have to get it right. Some days, and I think we're always like, if we don't, we're criticizing ourselves, we're, and we're triggered, or we're blaming, and it all gets a lot. And this goes back to what we were saying earlier about sometimes there's a lot to hold. It's a lot to hold, and, can we offer ourselves some grace and take a deep breath and go, you know what, it's okay. It's okay to be exactly where I am right now. In fact, I would reckon that most of us, one of the biggest parts of the wounds that we carry, or all the mechanisms to protect us, is that we weren't given presence. That we were told to be quiet, that we were told to go to our room, that we were told we were stupid, that we were told that, whatever it was, whatever we were expressing in that moment was not given presence. And as a consequence, we shut something down, we protected something, we made a decision about ourselves, and it's that thing. So even if it's that, I can't show up, or or it feels hard, or I am in resistance, or like the last few days I was in collapse. You know, there's this part of me that is very old that goes into this state of resignation, and it was very present for me. The difference this time is I could really just allow it and say, okay, this is how it is. But Dave's right, you know, at the same time, you can give it the presence, but say, you know, thank you for protecting me, but I'm ready to outgrow this. I'm ready to be responsible for what's present.
Cool. So my wife is ready. Oh, it reminds me, Adam Bartlett says that said he, in a comment that he loves you. So I'm not sure whether that's that wasn't on today's thread.
No,
so.
that was actually in Glastonbury, I think.
Okay. Well, anyway, I think unless there was Dean sending me something.
Oh no, I think he's just chatting to you from the hospital bed.
Well, we do hope that you're getting better, mate. It's unbelievable. A change of interesting. Next thing you know, you're going in one direction from another. Is that Kathy Broughton? Nice to see you. Glad you could make it. But I think we're just on our way out the door.
I also want to just thank Hippie again for just being so amazing in the chat and dropping all our links. Really appreciate it.
Really appreciate it. You're a
And
sweetheart.
if anybody feels like they would like our support, then you can either go to those links that Hippie's given, or you can find our links also in the YouTube bios or our Instagrams.
Andrea does great coaching, and obviously she can weave in this astrology stuff, which I think is so valuable. Imagine you've got this wireless radio and you have no idea how to tune it to pick up anything, and actually, if you knew how to tune it, you would get some lovely music and some propaganda probably, but there are some free stations out there just playing music at 432. And thanks to Alex Michael for his opening song today.
And if you're still interested in Spain, I think we're now, what's the date? We're past the 20th, so now it's less than 2 months. So if anybody's
8 weeks, I suppose.
Thinking about that, then
8 weeks from today, we'll be having like a little opening kind of gathering in Javier.
Obviously, if you can't make it, there will most definitely another time. In fact, we saw a great gathering space today, didn't we?
We did, actually.
Which has potential for future opportunities.
Maybe next summer, who knows?
And just be kind to yourself, and we'll see everyone next Friday.
When we will gather again.
Yes.
Thanks very much, and really appreciate you all for your time. And